Good evening, friends, and welcome to this press briefing. As you are aware, His Highness Sheikh Abdullah bin Zayed Al Nahyan, the Foreign Minister of the United Arab Emirates, is currently on a bilateral visit to India to participate in the Joint Commission meeting. This visit comes within 1 month of the Prime Minister's historic visit to the UAE, the first by an Indian Prime Minister in 34 years, and it has enabled us to make real forward movement on the historic joint statement that was signed between India and the UAE. To brief you on the UAE Foreign Minister's visit and the discussions that he held, I have with me Shri Anil Vadhva, Secretary East in the Ministry, who will give you a broad overview of what the Foreign Minister has done since his arrival here and what the outcomes of the Joint Commission were, and thereafter we'll open up for questions and answers. With that, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, dear friends. Sheikh Abdullah bin Zayed Al Nahyan has been here since this morning, and he's held a joint commission meeting besides a bilateral meeting with the Minister for External Affairs, Srimati Sushma Swaraj, in this morning, after which he will be also meeting the Railway Minister and the Defense Minister. He just paid a courtesy call on the Prime Minister as well, where it was discussions were held on a wide range of subjects there again. In the evening, he would be hosted to a dinner by the National Security Advisor before he leaves tomorrow morning. That's his program. This Joint Commission assumes very special significance because this Joint Commission has been held soon after the visit of Prime Minister to UAE, which was again a visit which was held after 34 years, a gap of 34 years between India and UAE. And this follows, the JCM is actually the 11th such session. It was set up in 1975 as a mechanism to review the entire gamut of our relationship. But what it results in is getting together of the senior delegates from both countries, and this time, because of the special interest that it has generated, we had 95 delegates from UAE in various fields. It also shows the interest that the UAE side has in taking the relationship with India forward. There were some high-level decisions that were taken during our Prime Minister's recent historic visit to UAE, and this gave us a chance to explore further in all those areas of potential collaboration, not just the old areas but also the future areas where we could work together. So once again, we have put out a short press release for you which summarizes what happened during those discussions. But here I'd like to highlight a few areas which you might be interested in. We had discussions specifically on investment opportunities and the business areas of electronics, ports, railways, national highways, energy, construction, Delhi-Mumbai Industrial Corridor, also the Make in India initiative, and the UAE-India Infrastructure Investment Fund. We agreed to strengthen our economic and trade relations through an MOU which was signed between FICCI and the Federation of the UAE Chambers of Commerce and Industry to take this forward as far as the business-to-business relationship is concerned. And we've met under 7 subcommittees because of the large number of delegates and the interest that was shown this time, discussing cooperation in separate areas of trade, commerce and investments. In one, finance and banking included. The other one was on energy, hydrocarbons, petrochemicals and fertilizers. Third one on defense and space. Also the one on transport, civil aviation, ports and meteorology. Then one on health and agriculture and education. Another one on culture and tourism. There was one on security and combating crime. And finally, immigration, consular and community-related issues. We also signed 4 MOUs plus the agreed minutes today, and those MOUs are in the field of higher education and scientific research, also in Bureau of Standards, in tourism and telecommunications. We have we have decided that we should have work together in the United Nations together in line with the India UAE joint statement, which was issued on 17th of August 2015. But we also agreed that we should maintain the high-level meetings in the future months to come so that the momentum is maintained in the future. The result is that we will also have a delegation which will be going from India to UAE, led by our Commerce and Industry, Minister of State for Commerce and Industry, which is the high-level task force in the first week of October, followed by a similar visit by the Minister of Economy of UAE at the end of October, which will perhaps have another high-level delegation which we are seeing visiting us nowadays. The institutional mechanisms and agreements and MOUs that we've had, we decided to strengthen them in future, fill up the gaps, and also look at some very new areas of cooperation which did not exist in the past, like space exploration, small and medium enterprises, the environment, nuclear energy, etc. In the area of economic cooperation, we agreed to work to our strengths and basically to make sure that bilateral trade bottlenecks are removed. As you know, at one point in time, our trade used to be $75 billion with the UAE. That was about 2 years ago. And then due to the fall in gold imports and jewelry exports, this volume has gone down to about $60 billion. So we have to look at new areas where we can take our cooperation further to increase this trade by 60% in the next 5 years, which is what is envisaged in the joint statement which was issued when the Prime Minister visited there. Again, we have a window of opportunity to open up our negotiations with the Gulf Cooperation Council on a proposed free trade agreement, which has been stalled for the last 5 years or so, and we were assured by the UAE side that this would be a favorable time to look at renewing our interest in this agreement. For cooperation in the field of investments, we are working towards activation of subgroups, which we've already established, and these will have to meet over the next few months in order to focus on areas, legacy issues as we call them, because of UAE investments in India. Some of them have had a history of being bogged down for a while the new areas will also require a specific push under these subgroups. The most important issue that I want to highlight is that in order to raise their investments in India, including through the India UAE Infrastructure Fund, with the aim of reaching a target of $75 billion, both sides have agreed to strengthen relations in the IT and IT businesses, develop manufacturing of electronics and IT hardware in the area of information technology. The role of banking and financial institutions was recognized, and the Indian side has asked for expediting approval of the State Bank of India to have a universal banking license in the UAE. Also on the LPG and crude oil side, we are looking for long-term contracts, and we've sought an increase of term allocation of LPG in 2015 for India's oil companies. We've also discussed investment opportunities in various upstream and downstream projects in the UAE and also in third countries of mutual interest. UAE has expressed an interest in participation in India's Strategic Petroleum Reserve, and we agreed to resolve issues related to the terms of the proposed MOU which is on the table between us. Besides, the Indian exploration and production companies have also expressed their intent to keenly participate in UAE's upstream sector through various arrangements and also participate in licenses which are now coming up for renewal. Again, Indian companies also offered to cooperate in the redevelopment of UAE's brownfield projects in this sector, and the UAE side has expressed its interest in engaging with ONGC Videsh and IOCL to explore potential opportunities in the upstream and petrochemicals sector. So we will be setting up a joint working group in this area of hydrocarbons, petrochemicals, and fertilizers, and having regular interaction in this field in the future in order to take this to its conclusion. We've also raised the proposal of setting up of a urea ammonia plant through a joint venture with ADNOC in the field of renewable energy. We both agreed that we will explore the possibility of further expanding the technical and the scientific cooperation on non-commercial terms, especially between the Masdar Institute of UAE and the National Institute of Solar Energy and the National Institute of Wind Energy in India, and for investments in solar energy projects through a joint venture which will be set up between the two sides. We've also offered to supplies of quality chemicals and petrochemicals, including polymers and plastics, to UAE at competitive prices. For cooperation in the civil aviation sector, talks would be scheduled in the near future to look at expansion of flights between India and the UAE. For the time being, we had agreed that the Air Arabia's appeal to operate 1,400 new seats between Ras Al Khaimah and India will be considered favorably. Also, the National Center of Meteorology and Seismology of the UAE will be cooperating with our institutions for exchange of information and data. The Dry Docks World of UAE has sought cooperation with ONGC, Indian shipyards, and for providing support to renewable energy offshore projects in India through signing of MOUs with these institutions. In the field of health tourism, we will explore opportunities in supporting medical universities in India, and also to extend the collaboration in the field of public health through early finalization of an MOU which has already been proposed. In the field of agriculture, we agreed to enhance cooperation in animal trade and aquaculture sectors, especially chicken meat exports to UAE. We also signed today an MOU in the field of higher education and scientific research, and we have raised the problems faced by Indian students for non-recognition of certificates and degrees by certain universities, especially distance universities in India, and the UAE side has agreed to look into this matter. Again, on the cultural side, we have agreed that we will try and increase troop exchange and implement an executive program for implementing our programs under this agreement, which already has been signed. There is a lot of potential for increasing our tourism, especially destination tourism in the two countries, and the UAE has expressed its interest in investments in the tourism sector. We have agreement on the establishment of dialogue between our national security advisors and the national security councils, so in order to strengthen our security cooperation and to enhance this and have a consistent engagement for effective handling of criminal and terrorist-related networking, and also for prevention of radicalization, to cooperate also in addressing terror threats emanating from transnational organizations based in other countries. We've agreed to work together in the area of anti-drug trafficking, and we've offered the UAE side training of police personnel in India. We've agreed to work together in new areas of defense cooperation, including in defense production, training of defense personnel, participation in each other's defense shows, exchange of ship visits, regular interaction between the two coast guards, and also the UAE side is interested in pursuing cooperation with India in the field of space exploration, and it was agreed that a delegation from UAE Space Agency will visit ISRO in the very near future. Finally, in the areas of labor, consular matters, and other issues related to the Indian community, we had a long discussion. As you know, there is a working group which exists on these issues, and we will have to take these issues forward under that working group in future. Now, the decisions and agreements that were taken today have been endorsed by the two ministers, will form the basis of our cooperation in the coming year, and we've decided to do this meet in this joint commission format on a regular basis in future in order to make sure that the interests that the two countries have in each other is advanced at a quicker pace. That's all I have to say.
Yeah. Now the floor is open for questions.
So, Vinita from the Pioneer, any specific discussion on choking of finances for the terror organizations or citizens or criminals? Any list or extradition discussions?
We have an ongoing discussion on these issues with the UAE. As far as the Joint Commission is concerned, specific cases are not taken up in this format, but it was agreed that we will continue with this cooperation. There are certain requests which are pending from our side for extradition, and also certain requests which have been made in terms of interdictions in various fields. So that cooperation will continue. In fact, it will be strengthened in the future.
Ranjit.
The UAE foreign minister has also met the defense minister, and UAE has also expressed interest in defense production side. So have any specific projects been identified for, investment from the UAE side?
Well, he'll be meeting the defense minister in about 10 minutes' time, so the specific projects will be discussed at that time.
No, can you tell us any idea?
Well, it's a question of putting together a list. The interest has been expressed by both sides already. We already had a visit, from India to UAE in the recent past, and we have to take those discussions forward. Right now, I cannot give you a concrete proposal.
Smita.
There were several reports that suggested that when the PM went into UAE, the NSA was carrying a dossier of sorts on Dawood Ibrahim and his assets in the UAE. There were talks about India putting pressure to asking them to freeze these assets. Can you confirm these reports, or were they mere speculations? And while they might not have been discussed on the Joint Commission level, but at the NSA level, you're upgrading the dialogue process. Is that on the table? Have you received any response from the UAE if they were taken up?
These are issues which are not discussed, as I said, in the Joint Commission. So in the context of this visit, there has been no discussion on such issues. I'm unable to comment on that.
Asif Saab.
ये जो बातचीत हुई है इसमें आपने कहा कि बैंक को कितने बैंक यूएई में खुलेंगे हमारे बैंक से?
No, the State Bank of India wants to operate under universal license in UAE. There's a Bank of Baroda function which is already there. It's operational. And once the State Bank of India has given permission, then we will ask for possibly more banks to open their branches, but that depends on the interest of the other banks. Right now, the interest on the table is from the State Bank of India.
Akhilesh.
So, the UAE visit of Prime Minister and the result thereafter, and the recent visit of the UAE Foreign Minister and Joint Commission meeting, it comes as a surprise to all of us that all of a sudden we are going so close to UAE. What makes UAE and India coming so close? What is the between the line things?
I think it's a relationship which was already on a sound footing, but it's been put on a faster track by the historic visit of our Prime Minister. A decision was taken to have this joint commission meeting immediately after the follow-up to the visit, and also make sure that there are follow-ups at regular intervals. So this is the first such visit after that. And because of the visit being very successful, we've had a renewed interest amongst the UAE businessmen, along with the officials from UAE who are accompanying the minister. And that's why that's reflected in the large number of people who are visiting us. I would tend to say that it's a relationship that is already very rich in content, because there are $74 billion US from India invested in this country. It's a trade which had reached $75 billion. Today it's at $60 billion. But at the same time, there's tremendous interest from UAE in investments in India, especially in New India, given the new policies that we have. And today we were able to to introduce 7 to 8 new sectors where specialized presentations had been made in the business segment. And I think they were very useful for the UAE investors. I think it's a congruence of our interests in geopolitics also, which has helped us. Yes. I would tend to agree with you.
Srinjoy.
Sir, is it possible for India to get the UAE to freeze Dawood's assets, simply? And also, sir, if you could speak on what Gilani has done, his letter to Nawaz Sharif through Basit.
This is not my area of expertise. I'm here to talk about the Joint Commission. So today I won't be able to comment on this at all.
Sir.
You were saying you had a long discussion on these labor-related issues. Could you elaborate a bit on that? What all areas?
Yes, I think the labor-related issues are, there are many of them, about 6 to 7 labor-related issues which were discussed. Most importantly is the conditions of payment, payments directly into bank accounts, holding of passports in an illegal manner, and of course the model contracts. These are the 4 important elements. Then, of course, along with that, there is a question of transfers of labor from India to other companies, the procedure which is adopted in that, and how easy can we make that for them to get some transfers in this manner. Also, what can be done to stop illegal migration from other countries into UAE.
You mentioned MOUs specifically on higher education and health. Are we going to see a lot of private players involved in the UAE in this case? Private hospitals, private universities as well?
It's actually both ways. UAE wants to set up, hospital chains from India, which can also treat patients over there. But at the same time, they need tie-ups with the hospitals in India for and also for medical tourism. That's one area. Secondly, medical education is another area where they want tie-ups with medical institutes in India, engineering institutes, cost accountants, universities, and specialized professional courses.
Sir, you mentioned about cooperation in the field of terrorism. Was the threat posed by Islamic State also a subject of discussion?
Yes, it was.
Was there any discussion on how to stop money laundering activities related matters?
Yes, this is an ongoing discussion which was also discussed during the Joint Commission.
Dubai is very known for that.
Yes, of course. I mean, I think money laundering is a very important subject for both countries. And there were issues which were discussed as to how to strengthen that further in the future. Already India and UAE are cooperating well in this field, but we need to make sure that, whatever gaps are there have to be plugged. So there was a discussion on that.
Sir, Shubhajit. Sir, recently towards ISIS. I want to understand from you in the last 1 year, 12, 13 months, how many such cases have taken place?
I was not aware of this case that you're talking about, these 2 cases, and I won't be able to give you a figure. I have no such information.
So you just said that discussion was also held on Ayahs, on the Ayahs. Could you please elaborate what kind of discussion, what kind of measures or discussion taking place over there?
Well, essentially, I think there is agreement in the fact that, the fight against terrorist organizations, especially the IS and related ones, has to be carried out to make sure that the root causes of their progress are stopped, and that is basically financing. Who are the people who finance them? How do they sustain themselves? Which is the way that countries can collaborate on a global scale, and most importantly, to reach agreement on the definition of terrorism itself, because there's a convention on global terrorism which has been floundering in the United Nations for a long period of time. And I think both India and UAE would like to see this come to a fruition so that the provisions of that convention can be implemented by all. And that's the only way to collaborate globally, worldwide, and work together. Radicalization is another important issue which is related to this, and both countries discussed on how to stop radicalization, what are the steps that can be taken, both by the governments and socially, in social media, etc.
Deepanjan. Charu.
So, when the Prime Minister visited the UAE last month, one of the things which also came up for discussion was, as you were mentioning about radicalization being a challenge, about the possibility of an exchange of religious scholars from both sides to, in seminars and things like that to help deal with this matter. Has there been any progress on that? Are we expecting any exchange of that variety soon?
Yes, we will make progress on that as well. This an idea that's been discussed for some time now, and in the near future we'll start implementing this. I think it's a very important idea which needs to be taken so that we can stop radicalization of societies. It's not just India and UAE, but it's also a step which has been taken by countries in Southeast Asia, countries in the Maghreb, like Morocco, for instance, who've taken the lead on this. And a number of countries have held seminars and they've invited think tanks to talk about this subject.
You said that one of the essential discussions has been on defining terrorism in the context of the UN Convention that's been lying for the longest time. But one of the basic contentions there has been the way Pakistan has approached it, with their definition and the entire fight around the terrorists in Kashmir, whom they call freedom fighters. Is UAE on the same page with India on the definition in the convention? Have you raised the issue of, because they have a certain influence with Pakistan?
UAE would like to reach a conclusion on this convention, join consensus as early as possible, and they are supportive of the convention. And they have assured us that they would find ways and means to encourage others also to work towards the finalization of the convention.
There being no other question, this press conference comes to a close. Thank you.